Barbarian raw fury given form. That's what a barbarian is at their core. They don't rely on fancy techniques or divine blessings. They tap into something primal, something that most civilized folk have buried deep inside themselves. When a barbarian enters their rage, pain becomes irrelevant. Caution vanishes. What remains is pure, unfiltered violence channeled with terrifying purpose. You'll find them in the frozen wastes of Icewind Dale, among the tribal warriors of the Ragged Glacier, or wandering the untamed wilderness where civilization's rules hold no meaning. Some serve as protectors of their clans, living symbols of their people's strength. Others are solitary wanderers who've turned their fury into the only weapon they'll ever need. The transformation that occurs during rage is what separates barbarians from mere fighters. Wounds that would drop at night barely slow them down. Their strikes land with bone-crushing force, fueled by adrenaline and ancestral power. They can attack with reckless abandon, trading defense for devastating offense, or rely on danger sense to dodge traps with almost supernatural awareness. As they grow stronger, barbarians choose a primal path. The berserker doubles down on relentless aggression, fighting beyond exhaustion, beyond reason. The totem warrior takes a different approach, drawing power from animal spirits: bear, eagle, wolf. Each grants distinct abilities that shape how they fight and survive. But here's what most people miss about barbarians. They're not mindless brutes. That rage, it's controlled, directed. A barbarian knows exactly when to unleash it and when to hold back. They're reading the battlefield, choosing targets, protecting allies. The fury is real, but the intelligence behind it is what makes them truly dangerous. Paladin picture a warrior who swears an oath so powerful it reshapes reality around them. That's a paladin. They're not simply devout fighters. They're living manifestations of sacred vows. Champions whose convictions unlock divine power that can heal the dying or annihilate the wicked. The oath is everything. The oath of devotion demands unwavering honor and protection of the innocent. The oath of vengeance is forged in the relentless pursuit of justice against those who've committed unforgivable acts. The oath of the ancients focuses on preserving life, light, and the natural world. Each oath grants different abilities, different spells, different approaches to divine magic. Clad in heavy armor and wielding blessed weapons, paladins stand between their allies and whatever threatens them. Their lay-on-hands ability can mend grievous wounds or cure diseases with a touch. But their signature move, Divine Smite. Channel holy energy into a single strike and watch evil burn. They draw on both strength and charisma. The strength to crush their enemies, the charisma to inspire allies, and command respect in any situation. Whether leading a charge against demon hordes or negotiating with corrupted nobles, paladins carry weight that goes beyond their armor. Some serve gods directly, Tyr, Helm, Bahamut. Others champion abstract ideals that need no divine figurehead. What matters is the oath itself and the willingness to uphold it no matter the cost. Ranger, the bridge between civilization and the wild. Rangers thrive where maps end and danger begins. They're trackers, hunters, and survivors who've mastered the art of turning nature itself into an advantage. You won't find them holding court in castles. They're patrolling the borders of the high forest, guarding caravan routes through the Anauroch, or stalking aberrations through the Mere of Dead Men. Rangers blend martial prowess with nature magic, though their spellcasting takes a back seat to practical skill. They can mark enemies with Hunter's Mark, gaining advantage in tracking and combat. They summon animal companions or conjure nature's wrath when the situation demands it. But their real strength lies in preparation and knowledge. Favored enemy gives them an edge against specific creature types. Tracking giants, you know their habits, their weaknesses, their likely strategies. Natural Explorer grants benefits in chosen terrain, whether that's mountains, forests, or underground caverns. Movement bonuses, stealth advantages, environmental awareness. It all adds up to someone who's nearly impossible to surprise in their element. What distinguishes a ranger from other warriors isn't flashy abilities. It's patience, understanding, the capacity to track prey across hundreds of miles, move without sound, and strike at the perfect moment. They study their environment like scholars study books, and that knowledge translates into survival when others would perish. Their subclasses expand on these themes. The hunter becomes a specialized killer, especially effective against specific threats. The Beastmaster bonds with an animal companion that fights alongside them. The Gloomstalker turns darkness itself into a weapon, becoming nearly invisible to those who rely on dark vision. Monk. Discipline made flesh. Monks have transformed their bodies into weapons through decades of training and meditation. They harness Ki, a mystical life force that flows through all living things, bending it to perform feats that seem impossible to anyone watching. Speed defines them. A monk can dodge arrows mid-flight, catch projectiles barehanded, and strike multiple times before an opponent realizes the fight has started. They move across battlefields like water, flowing around obstacles, exploiting openings that exist for fractions of a second. Kai powers everything they do beyond basic strikes. Flurry of blows unleashes a devastating barrage of attacks. Patient defense turns them into untouchable phantoms. Step of the Wind lets them leap impossible distances or run up vertical surfaces. As they advance, they gain the ability to slow their fall, understand all languages, or even turn invisible. You'll find monks in mountaintop monasteries following strict codes and ancient traditions. Some hail from Karatur, trained in secretive schools where martial and spiritual wisdom blend into a single path. Others emerge from monasteries in Amn or the Sword Coast, where different philosophies have taken root. The way of the open hand perfects unarmed combat into pure art. The way of shadow creates assassins who blend monk training with stealth tactics. The way of the drunken master. They turn unpredictable, seemingly chaotic movements into an impossible to read fighting style. But being a monk means more than technique. It's a spiritual journey expressed through every punch, every kick, every perfectly timed dodge. The body is the temple and Kai is the prayer that makes miracles happen. Rogue. Precision over power. Rogues succeed through control, finding angles others miss and exploiting them before anyone realizes what's happened. They can disappear in crowded alleys, scale towers without being seen, and return with a noble's secrets while the guards are still scratching their heads. In cities like Baldur's Gate, they're spies, thieves, informants. The network that keeps information and coin flowing through unofficial channels. What sets rogues apart is sneak attack, delivering devastating damage when catching enemies off guard or striking alongside an ally. One well-placed blade between the ribs beats a dozen wild swings. Cunning action changes how they move through combat. Dash, hide, or disengage as a bonus action. They're never where you expect them, always repositioning for the next strike. Expertise lets them double their proficiency in crucial skills. Stealth, investigation, sleight of hand. Whatever they specialize in, they become supernaturally good at it. Their subclasses shape how they apply these talents. Assassins deliver killing blows in the opening seconds of combat. Arcane tricksters weave magic into their bag of tricks, using illusions and enchantments to complement traditional roguery. Scouts prioritize mobility and survival, thriving in wilderness environments. Some are charming con artists who talk their way through obstacles. Others are silent blades operating in shadow, but all of them share one trait. They're shaped by hard choices and harder consequences. Cleric Divine will give in mortal hands. Clerics channel the power of gods directly, serving as earthly instruments of celestial purpose. They're healers, yes, but reducing them to that role misses the bigger picture. They're judges, warriors, exorcists, and crusaders. Whatever their deity demands, they deliver. What separates clerics from other spellcasters is their connection's nature. A wizard studies, a sorcerer inherits, a cleric believes, and that faith unlocks abilities that reshape reality. They can restore life to the dead, purge disease with a prayer, or call down divine wrath that leaves nothing but ash. Divine domains reflect different aspects of their god's portfolio. A war domain cleric charges into battle with blessed weapons and thunderous prayers. A grave domain cleric moves with quiet reverence, shepherding souls and denying death its premature claims. Life, light, tempest, trickery. Each domain grants unique spells and abilities that define how the cleric serves. Channel divinity is their signature feature, varying wildly between domains. Turn Undead sends unholy creatures fleeing in terror. Some domains let clerics empower allies, deal massive radiant damage, or even charm enemies with divine persuasion. They thrive in grand temples and blood-soaked battlefields equally. Every spell, every gesture, Every word carries divine intent. Clerics don't just believe in something greater than themselves. They become its voice, its hand, its judgment made manifest. And when a cleric speaks with their god's authority, even demons listen. Druid, nature's voice. Nature's protector. Nature's weapon. Druids draw power from the primal forces that existed before civilization, before gods, before names were given to the wild places. They're spiritual guardians who view the natural world not as a resource to exploit, but as a living force to honor and defend. Their magic reflects this philosophy. They can coax plants to ensnare enemies, summon animals to aid them, or cause storms that reshape battlefields. But their most distinctive ability is wild shape, transforming into beasts. Early on, it's birds and reptiles. Eventually, they become apex predators, or even elemental avatars. You'll find druids far from cities, tending sacred groves, or protecting elemental hotspots, where nature's power runs strongest. They speak Druidic, a secret language that predates most civilizations. They communicate with animals and spirits, seeing connections others miss. Their code runs deep. Never harm animals without cause. Never destroy trees unnecessarily. Those who violate these principles face consequences that make excommunication look merciful. Nature remembers, and druids are its memory. The Circle of the Land focuses on elemental magic tied to specific terrain types. The Circle of the Moon enhances wild shape, creating combat-focused shapeshifters. Each circle represents a different interpretation of how to serve the natural order. Druids don't see themselves as separate from nature. They're part of it, temporary vessels for something eternal. When they act, they're not imposing their will. They're channeling forces that have shaped worlds since before mortals learned to count days. Warlock. Power with strings attached. Warlocks don't earn their magic through study or inherit it through bloodlines. They make deals. A pact with something beyond mortal comprehension. An entity that rarely gives without expecting payment. That patron could be a demon lord lurking in the abyss, an archfey from the Feywild's twilight courts, an ancient dragon, or something stranger still. The relationship varies wildly. Some warlocks worship their patrons like clerics worship gods. Others treat it as a business transaction, magic for service. A few consider their pact a curse they're desperately trying to break. But regardless of how they frame it, the connection runs deep, written into their soul in ways that can't be easily severed. Eldritch Blast becomes their signature, a cantrip that scales with their power until it rivals weapons forged by gods. But what truly sets warlocks apart are Eldritch Invocations, permanent supernatural abilities that break conventional rules. Read any writing, see through magical darkness, speak with animals at will, disguise yourself perfectly, curse with a glance. These aren't spells they prepare, they're alterations to reality itself. Their spell slots work differently too. Warlocks have fewer slots than other casters, but they always cast at maximum power and recharge after short rests. This creates a distinctive rhythm. They're devastating in short bursts, terrifying when they have time to recover between encounters. Bard. Words as weapons, songs as shields. Bards channel magic through artistic expression, turning every encounter into a performance where the stakes are life and death. They're not just entertainers who stumbled into adventuring. They're arcane spellcasters, whose power flows from creativity, emotion, and the stories they weave into reality. Versatility defines them. Bards can fight, cast spells, and master more skills than any other class. They're support specialists who use bardic inspiration to empower allies, granting bonus dice that can turn failures into successes at crucial moments. But don't mistake support for weakness. They can unleash devastating spells when needed, and they're proficient enough with weapons to hold their own in melee. Their magic is arcane, but it doesn't come from dusty tomes. It emerges from performance, whether that's music, poetry, oratory, or dance. A bard's spell focus might be a lute, a flute, or simply their voice raised in song. The magic responds to artistry, to passion, to the emotions they channel through their craft. Jack of all trades lets them add half their proficiency bonus to any ability check they're not already proficient in. This makes them unnervingly competent at everything. Need someone to pick a lock? The bard can manage. Decipher ancient texts? They've got enough knowledge. Negotiate with a dragon? Their charisma makes them natural diplomats. Colleges shape how bards express their magic. The College of Lore creates scholars and researchers who collect knowledge like dragons hoard gold. The College of Valor produces warrior poets who inspire armies and fight on the front lines. The College of Glamour weaves fey magic that charms and manipulates. Each college represents a different philosophy of how art intersects with power. You'll find bards in royal courts spinning political intrigue, in taverns gathering rumors and secrets, on battlefields rallying troops with songs of glory. Some are spies, using their charm and social skills to infiltrate where others can't go. Others are genuine artists who discovered their performances could reshape reality. They leave trails of stories wherever they travel, not just about themselves, but about everyone they encounter, because that's what bards do. They take the chaos of existence and transform it into narrative, into meaning, into magic that echoes long after they've moved on. Sorcerer. Magic in the blood. Sorcerers don't learn their craft. They are their craft. Power flows through them from birth, tied to some fundamental alteration in their lineage or a reality warping event that touched them before they could speak. While wizards spend decades studying, sorcerers just reach inside themselves and pull out miracles. The source of that power shapes everything about them. Draconic bloodline sorcerers descend from dragons, their skin hardening into scales, their breath occasionally flickering with elemental fury. Wild magic sorcerers are touched by chaos itself, their spells sometimes triggering random surges that can turn them into potted plants or summon unicorns. Divine soul sorcerers carry celestial or fiendish essence, bridging the gap between arcane and divine magic. What makes sorcerers unique is metamagic. They can twist their spells in ways other casters can't imagine. Cast faster, eliminating the time needed for somatic components. Extend range far beyond normal limits. Twin a spell to affect 2 targets instead of 1. Subtle casting removes all components, making their magic invisible and unstoppable. This flexibility makes them incredibly reactive in combat, adapting their magic to fit whatever situation explodes around them. But power comes with limits. Sorcerers know fewer spells than wizards. They don't have spellbooks to reference or divine guidance to expand their options. Every spell they learn is a permanent choice, carved into their magical identity. This forces them to be selective, focusing on versatile options that work in multiple scenarios. Society treats them with a mix of awe and suspicion. Some are celebrated as prodigies, natural talents that emerge once in a generation. Others are feared as walking disasters, especially wild magic sorcerers whose very presence can warp reality unpredictably. Many hide their abilities, passing as wizards or claiming divine patronage to avoid uncomfortable questions about their nature. They're rare enough that most people never meet one. When they do appear, it's usually because something significant is happening. Sorcerers are drawn to conflict, to moments where reality bends, to situations that resonate with whatever changed them in the first place. Wizard knowledge weaponized. Wizards approach magic as an academic discipline, something to be studied, analyzed, and mastered through rigorous intellectual effort. They don't inherit power or receive it from patrons. They earn it, one spell at a time, building their understanding until they can unravel the fundamental laws of reality. The spellbook is their most precious possession. Every page represents hours of research, experimentation, and careful transcription. They prepare spells each day from this personal archive, selecting the tools they think they'll need. As they grow stronger, that archive expands until their spellbook becomes a library of magical potential. The right spell at the right moment can solve almost any problem, and wizards pride themselves on having the right spell. In combat, they rarely act without a plan. They layer defenses, reshape terrain, summon allies, or strike from range with devastating force. Their methods depend on their arcane tradition. Necromancers animate the dead to serve their will. Illusionists warp perception to confuse and mislead. Diviners peer into fate's strands, gaining foreknowledge that makes them almost impossible to surprise. Abjurers shield allies from harm, while evokers specialize in raw destructive power. You'll find them in isolated towers, serving in magical academies, or delving into forbidden ruins. Some work as court wizards, advising nobles on magical threats and opportunities. Others pursue knowledge for its own sake, caring more about understanding than application. What unites them is an insatiable curiosity and a deep belief that knowledge is the truest form of power. They're physically vulnerable. Without time to prepare, a wizard caught off guard is just a person in robes. But give them even a few moments and they become forces capable of turning battles, ending sieges, or unmaking centuries-old enchantments. Their true strength isn't any single spell. It's understanding how magic works and what happens when it doesn't. Artificer. Magic through engineering. Artificers are the intersection of arcane power and mechanical innovation. Creators who channel magic through tools, devices, and their own inventive genius. While a wizard might conjure fire with an incantation, an artificer builds a gauntlet that shoots flames. They see the world as a collection of components waiting to be improved, repurposed, or disassembled. Their magic requires tools. Alchemists' supplies, tinkers' tools, thieves' tools, any set of artisans' tools can become their arcane focus. They infuse mundane objects with magical properties through magical tinkering, creating glowing stones, whispering coins, or items that emit scents and sounds. It's minor magic, but it demonstrates their fundamental approach. Magic isn't mysterious. It's mechanical, and mechanics can be understood, reproduced, and refined. Their spell list reflects their practical nature. They don't summon demons or manipulate time. They cast spells that enhance equipment, analyze magic, create temporary constructs, or provide tactical advantages. Everything serves a purpose, and that purpose is usually making their next invention work better.